This week, dang it.
Whole bag of candy corn.
We're trying. Are you ready?
Yeah.
On this episode of the Sea Lifter Show, we talk about why you're fat. Are we recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
On this week's episode of the Sea Lifter Show, we talk about why your feet are terrible. Okay. Dang it. Alright, we'll keep that.
All right, we are back with the College Lifter Pro.
Way closer to the camera than me.
I am, but the camera just loves me. Anyways, so we are live. This week, we got a question from one of our Instagram subscribers. What's his Instagram name? Well, while she goes and looks that up, he sent us a question because Kara posted a Transformation Tuesday video.
What?
I don't know what that is. I guess it's something
It's a
people
thing.
do.
It's a thing.
I'm not really in touch with social media.
He's not the media coordinator.
But she posted one with her doing an L-sit. How long ago was the first one?
Tuesday.
No, how long ago was the first picture versus second?
Oh, it was about a 6-month difference. His Instagram handler is Deshovin.
Shoving. I like it. Black Hive athlete.
Yeah, he's one of my friends. He's one of the first people I met there. So, I don't know. You always kind of have like a special place in your heart. You've only never really been at one gym, so, and yours is going to be really strong. But I was only at Black Hive for a couple months, and I have like a special place in my heart for them and for the people that I knew when I was there. So he's a good guy.
And he posted a question because if you see Kara's legs in the first picture, like if my hand is her lower body, her legs are like that. And then the second one, they're fairly straight. And he was asking, how did she do this? How did she accomplish straightening her legs? So we figured today would be shout out to him. The show is in honor of you, my friend, and it's about mobility. So, first couple points. What are some common things you see that are wrong with people as far as mobility? What are people missing in a lot of the general CrossFit community?
I think the biggest issue is full range of motion, especially in the squats.
Okay, so you're seeing issues in the squats. Where are you seeing these issues come from?
Ankle mobility,
Okay.
huge one. Hip mobility, my psoas is really tight, and I think that's a really common fault with a lot of people.
It's common for a lot of people like us and probably a lot of our listeners because we're college students. And I found this, what was it, last week or the week before? Sitting so much and studying, you just get so short. Your hamstrings get really tight. Hip flexors like the psoas get really compressed, and they just adapt to that bad position of sitting all the time. And you go in the gym and you're like, wow, I can't actually like get cleans anymore. I can't hit extension. Wonder why that is. So that's a big problem.
And
Yeah, she had a burpee alarm. She'll do them after, don't worry.
he'll make sure. Okay. Sidebar. So we're doing this absolutely horrible challenge at my gym that's basically 100 days worth of burpees. It started on I think and goes all the way until December 31st, 100 days. You do one burpee each day. So the first day you do one burpee, the second day you do two, so on and so far until you're doing 100 the last day. And we're on day 37 and already sucks.
Anyways.
But there's a pot in it of money.
Yeah, money, like pot and gambling.
Everybody who wanted to do it put in $5, and then whoever's left at the end of the challenge, this $5 is split between them. So far, I think there's actually maybe 8 of us left out of the
Really?
Yeah, they dropped like flies. It's not even at the halfway point yet. Gives me very little hope.
But anyways, so we're seeing issues with ankles and stuff like that. I see that a lot too. I suffer with ankles myself because I wear Sperry's to school because my nanos stink.
Literally.
It's been raining a lot, just a lot of stuff. Don't read into it too much. But one thing that I've really run into, we are having technical difficulties.
What's it telling you?
It's telling me I need to update security stuff. Anyways.
All right, well, we're fine.
Sorry about that. But so I wear Sperry's, which have a higher heel, and so it shortens the heel cord, and you get that lack of ankle mobility. Every day when I go in is a banded.
Something.
Is a banded couch stretch. So, put the band right under your glute. That's the leg that's going to be back. You're going to get down on a couch stretch against a wall. We have a rig that's right next to a wall, so it's kind of convenient. It's, let's say, 3 feet, 2.5 feet away. Gives a nice bit of tension. And you kind of can't hide from it because we've been sitting for 8 hours a day for 2 weeks straight. It's going to be painful to dig into that thing. And so kind of being forced to get shoved forward, you get opened up pretty well.
We did a real fun version of that last week. We did the couch, so we have the band around our glutes. I'm short. Here it is. Okay. Most people have done that. And then we had one band hooked to our leg, pulling that over our shoulder.
That's terrible.
So we have one band pulling us this way, and the other one pulling our. I can feel this in my quads real bad right now. So just that sucks. So try it.
And if you don't have a rig close enough to a wall, just that band over while you're doing the couch stretch, that might be a great thing.
Yeah, it's a double whammy.
So that's huge. Ankle mobility is something. So I come from a basketball and football background. Really, ankles are just something you gotta constantly hammer, like every day, every other day. I mean, even if it's just something like, and here's the issue that I see a lot, is I see people with flat feet, such as this person to my left, and when they stretch, when they do ankle mobility, they let their feet stay flat.
They're really bad.
So basically your foot is flattened onto the inside. They let that happen when they do ankle mobility. That's not really very effective because now you're just trying to stretch it off axis. So I like to plant my foot, screw it into the ground, get a nice arch going, and then start working it. Even if it's just like standing here, pushing in a little bit, contract, relax, go in and out of it. Then and we'll do a video on this that we'll cut in.
Yeah.
On all the stuff that we talk about. That is huge. Make sure your foot position is stable and optimal when you are mobilizing your ankle, because one, you're actually going to mobilize better. There's a chance of causing damage if you're going off axis and trying to stretch it. And you're going to probably cultivate a better position in the foot because everything around there is going to get stretched and you're going to get used to being in that optimal position in your foot. No, you are not born with flat feet. If you listen to Kelly Starrett, talks about that doesn't happen until like 1st or 2nd grade because of environmental things built into our society.
It's true.
So you aren't born with flat feet. Forget all of that. Forget insoles unless you're really bad and you're working your way down, but you should be working your way to a 0 differential shoe. That's my mini rant. Anyways, that's another thing. What you wear, like I was saying, the Sperry's. I need to ditch those things. Stuff like that. What you wear, how you move, how you study. If you just sit there for 8 hours, probably not good. You probably need to get up, move around a little bit. I had a couple friends who were coaches who would do mobility in the middle of the library. Yeah, you get some funny looks, but I mean, in the end, it's worth it.
It's a lot better. And I'm fortunate enough that in my major, it's very drafting architecture based. And so we all have drafting desks, which are sit to stand, which means that that's a whole nother thing. But if you don't, at some point you start getting stiff, you can just raise it, stand up, and you're still working at a comfortable level. If you have that kind of opportunity where you can do that, I would suggest it. It's a lot more comfortable. I can't tell you how much back pain I suffered. Just like, it's really hard, as hard as it is to stand correctly, because you have to be thinking about it so much.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, of course, after a while, you get used to it, and it's really weird to not be able to do it. But sitting correctly is even harder.
Yeah, it's almost like a pause squat.
Yeah. So that's very difficult, if not next to impossible, especially for any length of time. Even if you're able to, you set up correctly and then you sit down, you're going to be in the correct position for a little bit. But even then, after even maybe 5-10 minutes, you start to lose it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, it gets tough. But the sit to stand thing is great. One thing I'll do is I live in a dorm. On nights when I don't feel like staying in the library, I'll set my laptop and my books up on the bed because the bed's about this high. Yeah, optimally it'd be this high for me to type on, but it's better. So that's one thing I really enjoy. Now, on to my man's question, which is hamstrings. So stretching your ankles, your calves is going to be part of this. One of the biggest things, and this is not mine, it's hers, is the foam roller. So the foam roller is really important to me especially. So I get pretty beat up. I do CrossFit and squat every day, back to back. So my hamstrings are pretty torched all the time, and my glutes and up my back. This is a lifesaver. Just spend 2 to 5 minutes on it afterwards, just smashing everything out. You'll be fine. This past week, I didn't do that.
ooh.
I had trouble going to sleep because I had back pain because my hamstrings were so tight. Like I woke up in the morning and just absorbing the force from landing on the ground after getting out of bed because I kind of hop out. That was not fun. So yes, invest in one of these. It'll be amazing. Just have it at your house. Also, get hot and sweaty before you do this. So don't do this kind of thing before a workout. Don't do it just cold. Like, you can't. It won't be as effective and as quick, but you can do it if you want to just roll out of bed. But my recommendation would be to get hot and sweaty first and then go for it.
And then a really great tool if you're really, really, really bad, and I've been doing a lot of this the past few weeks, I just have this at my house. If you're at a gym, you have a solution. Barbell smashing, kettlebell smashing, you can use the handle for the same thing.
Yes. And as Kara's going to learn later on tonight, you can also use that for psoas smashing. What you're going to be doing.
Oh, am I the guinea pig?
Yes.
Dang it.
And you have a tight psoas, so we need to fix
I
that.
do. I have a block like right here. When it just, okay, it's on both sides, but it's worse on my right side. And so it's really awkward when you're squatting because I can go lower with better mobility on one and the other one's just kind of like,
And if you can't see her feet right now, one foot's here and one foot's here.
yeah, one foot's perfect.
So we need to fix that. We have a little bit of an asymmetrical imbalance.
Pistols on one leg. And it's not even my dominant leg, so it's not a strength thing. It's a mobility issue.
Yeah. So those are really important tools. The other tool are bands. I love bands. We've got 2 different sizes. This is a little bit lighter than mine. This is Kara's, used for mobility. Then we have a smaller one for like shoulder girdle strengthening, stuff like that. I do not remember the name of this company. It's 3 letters. It starts with a B. That's the symbol. You can buy these at Academy for really cheap. They're probably some of the cheapest bands out there. They're not very wide, but they're effective. And one of these things is, so when you read through stuff like Kelly Stark's book and all the mobility stuff, the purpose of a band is sort of in place of a physical therapist. So where a physical therapist could kind of put more pressure and overpress something and work something a little bit more than just you stretching it by yourself, kind of the low-hanging fruit part of that is to use a band for basic stuff. So just like I was talking about when I wind my hip up with the band in the couch stretch pushing forward, it's simulating someone forcing my hip forward. And so that's kind of
That makes sense.
where I like it. Just it helps. There's a reason people go to physical therapists, and this isn't all physical therapist does. Obviously, you need to go see a PT if you have really bad issues. But this is the low-hanging fruit. This is so you don't end up seeing them. So that's that mobility. Now let's look at shoulders.
Ooh.
So we're going to move up the body.
There you go. You reminded me.
Yeah. I've been slouching. I always watch myself. I'm like, am I okay? I'm good. Because I don't want to be a hypocrite and say, you need to practice good movement patterns, and then not practice good movement patterns.
It's just hard, though. I mean, it's not really an automatic thought pattern for most of us.
No, but using one of these correctly, if you watched our last episode with band pull-aparts, it will prime you. I obviously haven't done these this week. It will prime you to stay in good position.
Nice segue.
Yes. But, so an issue we see a lot is in snatches. People will be good, they'll be tight, they'll externally rotate it, they'll pull it, and then when they catch, they'll have this moment where they dump to internal rotation, and then they kind of half get back to the external rotation. So they catch it external, dump, and come back. So something from my biomechanics course that we've been talking about is moments, like when your knee shifts in.
Which we see a lot.
Right. But here's really the point that I was not aware of until past 2 weeks is if you're squatting, let's say, with your knees in a little bit, but they're in the same place the entire movement, versus your knees being out, shooting in and out, and coming back up, the shooting in and out is more detrimental, is more dangerous. Because at least you're supporting the load. You should never squat with your knees in. Supporting the load in a bad position, it's not going to be as damaging, at least short term, as a sharp just bang flying in. So when your knee goes in like that, not good. And same with your shoulder. So if your shoulder's having that moment where it's shooting out and coming back in, you're really stressing out those tendons.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the best things is to get the PVC pipe, and I can do it with my own hanging into that front rack. Because what is this position? Oh, that's external rotation through the top. Same position, you just extend it. And what I like to do when I have time, when I've been really tight, like recently, start switching it here with the PVC pipe and then out, 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 and grow it out. Now you gotta do this slowly because the further out you go, the more delicate it'll start to feel. I'll start to feel my serratus along my rib cage coming to it. So you have to be very careful and you have to maintain good back posture while you do it. But that'll really help alleviate those moments as well as just getting an overhead position that's more optimal. So if you're one of these people who has the bar like sitting on their fingers and they're like this, instead of being up like that, you got to fix that. You got to start working that motion. You can just grab the band. Grab the band, step on it, come up with it. I like to let my hand go a little outside because that simulates my clean grip. Like my clean grip isn't in here. You know, my hands aren't inside my shoulders, they're outside my shoulders. So I try to simulate that when I do my stretching, which I think I see a lot of issues with. I see a lot of people stretching it and it's inside their shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
You need your hand outside because that's where it should be in clean.
And it's something that's, if you've ever done it, you know it's really uncomfortable. So something I see a lot of people doing is trying to find like cheater ways to make it less uncomfortable, which then you just kind of mitigate it, you know? You lost the point of really stretching that out and helping yourself.
Yeah.
If you're trying to like slouch down at all or any of those.
Well, and that kind of comes back to you're in a bad position because you're trying to compensate. Now you're wasting time. Like you might as well not even do it if you're doing that. Really, get into a position. Don't try to be like the cool guy who's like, I'm fully extended. No, like if you have to be a little, you know, leaning forward so you're in a better position or whatever, do that. If you have to get closer or further from the band to change the tension, do that, but make sure you are in a quality position. And then just contract, relax, breathe through it, and work it during the allotted time. Usually it's about 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes is minimum effective dose.
Yes.
So don't just be like, oh yeah, I did it for 30 seconds. Now, that's most of our mobility talk. And we said at the beginning of this, do not do mobility before a workout. It's to be done after a workout. It's more effective after a workout. I'm going to slightly backtrack, but not really. So if you understand the anatomy of a person, so let's take my shoulder. I've got tendons running all through here, and then I've got a tendon wrapping around called the joint capsule. And that can get stiff quicker than most other things. And so hitting like a Samson lunge or a hip flexion stretch, the what's it called? World's Greatest Stretch. Hitting something like that for like 30 seconds to a minute before a workout is fine because you're just waking up that range of motion again. You're not actually trying to make change. You're just trying to kind of dust off the cobwebs.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different mindset. So if you're doing a hip extension stretch or mobilization, you're doing something with your hamstrings or your shoulders before a workout, that should be just to shake off the cobwebs. The biggest thing should be to focus on warming that up, doing a nice warm-up. You're not trying to make change. Change is afterwards. It's kind of like hydration, which this is a point we'll make in a future episode, but if you're dehydrated before you go into the workout, drinking water throughout the workout is not going to do much. Hydration is a state. It's not an emergency. Oh, just dump it all in, you know.
Yeah.
You can't just show, yeah, you know, I had 5 beers last night. I haven't, you know, had a glass of water in a week, but I think if I drink on this Gatorade or this water, I'll be fine. That's not true. You should never, in the middle of a CrossFit workout, stop what you're doing and go get a drink of water.
I was actually just about to mention, because that's kind of one of those like mini pet peeves of mine, because you know, at most, if you're doing a hero workout, some of the hero workouts can take you, like, I think Murph has a 40-minute cap, which I need, but at the most, we're talking like they range between 20-40 minutes for like the really long ones. If you're telling me that you can't go that long without a drink of water, really what it is, it's just kind of like your rest mode. It's like chalking up, which I can't really say because I need to chalk up or I will like fall off. Somebody from his gym posted a really funny video. Maybe I'll try and find it and repost it for y'all. Doing butterfly pull-ups, so he just loses his grip halfway through and like flies off the bar. That would be me without chalk. So I do actually need to chalk up. But it's just kind of one of those, instead of taking a step back from the bar, breathe, breathe, breathe. Okay, go. You're like, I'm gonna get water, and I'm looking like
It's an excuse to not do anything most of the time. Or it's really you're just dehydrated, and we need to look at your lifestyle and how you plan stuff and make a better decision. It's no use. I mean, just coming from sports outside of CrossFit, the guys I knew and who did that would start seeing stars in the middle of practice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you should never have to stop in the middle of a workout. And even if it's 40 minutes long, you should be able to do that. You should be able to go through a workout without having to get water. You're not going to die if you are properly hydrated.
Yeah. And even when I'm during the workout, first of all, it's never during a high intensity metcon because you're just kind of lessening the effect of it that you're programmed for, essentially.
Yeah.
If they program for a specific stimulus, you take a water break in the middle of that, you're kind of missing out on that stimulus. So when I do drink, I choose to do it on, like, it's a lifting day. A lot of our rest days it's a full day of deadlifting or back squat or something. It's lifting. So, you know, not as important. And it's BCAAs, which are best to take. Correct out.
The original research, to my knowledge, was done intra-workout, and that's where most of the results were seen in the original stuff. So, yeah, I mean, that's great. I agree with it for lifting because it almost does take the mental edge off if you're doing something else besides thinking about the barbell.
I dance in between lifts. I'm dangerous in the club.
Oh, God. Okay. How do I rein this back from that? Going back in.
You love working with me.
Yeah. Anyways, pulling it back in. No water. Got off track. So also with mobility, be hydrated. If you are not hydrated, your muscles will not be supple, right? Because they need the water flowing through them and the tendons, getting it through osmosis purposes mostly. Thank you. If you are not properly hydrated, your mobility is not going to do much. It's really just going to put you in pain because your muscles like, I can't. I'm stuck. I'm clumped together like this. I'm not, you know, smooth and in line. So that's another big point is be hydrated all the time, and your mobility will be more effective.
Mhm.
So now, actually, I think we can just cut down camera angle and we can show the stretch that my man on Instagram needed to here to straighten his legs. So,
He does a lot of go rock too, so.
okay. So, gonna lay down, put the band, try to make sure I'm shut, around my foot to hold it. If you want to, you can go up and grab it. Or you could even, kind of my preferred method, hold it. So I'm holding it right at this angle. I'm going to go to the end range and contract really hard for 5 seconds-ish. Come out of it. Go back in. Come out of it. Go back in. As you can see, my femur is staying relatively in the same spot, yet my knee is extending more. Now I'm cold. I haven't warmed up. Drove for 3 hours, so I'm not really hydrated because I was drinking green tea, which is a diuretic. But you saw that change. Now that won't last long because of those variables, but it'll probably be more. It helps, and that's the best way I found. Usually I will foam roll before doing this if I'm really stiff, and that makes a world of difference. It allows me to kind of push further through the range of motion without that fashion up.
Now, I have a question. I remember your dad's anything mobility is really, really poor, but I remember there being a slight discussion about why that was more helpful than stretching sitting up. So about unloading the hamstrings.
Oh, right. So, can you give me that chair real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm playing Vanna White.
Who?
Did you never watch Wheel?
No, I did not.
Oh my gosh.
I've never watched Wheel of Fortune. Anyways, so in
Vanna
this
White.
type of position, you have now unloaded the spine. Your feet are on the ground. There's some spinal loading. So, one issue with stretching on the ground is you're loading the spine, and so you can get some more tendon. It's more likely you'll get tendon issues, like tendon irritation, and your body will stop you. Just like if you stretch with a loose, broken, and then you tighten down, you can now go further. Your body tries to protect itself. So if you unload the spine, now you can work on that hamstring without your body interfering because it's freaking out because it thinks you're going to kill it. So that's really important. Also, you can get, I think, better leverage over your own leg without any faulting. So if you have a lot of hamstring tightness or glute tightness, you'll have usually a rounded back. You can see I do because I'm really tight. You can have a rounded back when you're sitting on the floor. That's not really optimal. Again, our body's going to freak out because it's like we have a broken midsection. So if I'm here, I'm supported. I can tighten my abs. Now I don't have any of that issue, and I can go through that stretch and work on my body without it being afraid of nerve strain, essentially. So then, so let's see, we're going to angle this down more. So here is what I do not want to see in foot position. You see how this is collapsed? It's basically touching the ground, it's completely flat. Now if I turn and create some force, you can see now I have an arch. Now my foot looks thinner through the midsection, actually stacked up correctly. And now I can start working in that position. And of course, if you have something behind you, you can wind up, go through the range of motion with this band connected. So,
Could you use Buddha floss?
you could. So Voodoo Floss, if you want to come back on camera.
Oh, am I back?
Yes.
I'm back.
So Voodoo Floss is great, compresses and it locks down, and you get the tack and floss. So flossing is essentially if I get that kettlebell, right? And I put it, most people have done this, put it on my tricep, or you get a barbell going through here.
Horrible.
and you keep the barbell in the same place, but you move through that range of motion, that's called tack and floss. You're tacking the tissue down and flossing it back and forth over that area. So that's the idea. That's what voodoo flossing. It also creates a little back pressure with the blood to help flush stuff out, or so I've heard. But really, tack and floss is one of the best things I've ever done. The best thing I ever did to kind of kickstart my hamstrings getting into good length is setting up a barbell just under hip height, putting your leg on it, and just tack and floss your leg, making sure you have good spinal position and hip position. I usually start towards the knee and work my way back. And that was the best thing I ever did. That cleared up so much. Like, I cannot stress to you how much that cleared up in my legs and relieved some back pain and all that. As well as digging into my glutes. That also will help a lot too. So, do you have anything else to say?
I think that pretty well covers it, because I mean, honestly, part of it, as far as going back to the initial question about how I was able to straighten my legs so much, part of that was just strength. You know, that takes a lot more quads than I think a lot of people realize.
Yeah, your hip flexors are involved. For those of you who don't know, your hip flexors actually start like right up under your ribs and run down. So those are going to be involved in any movement.
So part of it was definitely just me longer. But there was definitely a lot of mobility work that needed to be done, as far as, you know, I floss, and I am religious these days, at least, about barbell smashing. At least a few times a week.
Yeah.
Because it just tightens back up so fast with me. And the annoying thing about mobility is if you don't stay on top of it, it goes away completely.
Now, the idea behind Supple Leopard, the book, as I understood it, was so that you could have range of motion goal. So maybe we give her a little hydration.
I do really well on hydration on the weekdays.
I think that's most people, though.
And then the weekends hit, and it's just.
But over time, like doing things like that barbell smashing, like that for me, increases my cold range of motion a little bit every time. I like it. I enjoy it. That will wrap up this week's show. I guess we will not be cutting in because we showed most of it here.
And for those of you that are judging the nice pattern black and white carpet, it's mine. We're in my apartment.
This is the Mobile Podcast. It is what it is. So
we're new age. We're with the times.
We are. Like, we do Skype or Google Hangout calls and everything. It's great.
You have to talk me through it, but we do it. I'm great with that lately.
That's just going to be our ending. It's you rhyming from now on. Anyways, this has been the College Lifter Show. Follow us. We are now on iTunes. We are on iTunes.
Woo!
We have 2 episodes up. This one will be our 3rd. So,
third time's a charm.
Sea Lifter Show on iTunes.
Sea Lifter Show on everything now. We just did update the Twitter handler to finally actually reflect that, because it was actually a Sea Lifter podcast. But it's now Sea Lifter Show on Twitter. It's Sea Lifter Show on Instagram. Just look for College Lifter Show on Facebook.
Yeah, we'll probably update that soon. But we are on iTunes. You can download us. You can also watch this, obviously, in a video form. If you have any more questions, if you have anything you want to ask us about, please submit your questions at sealiftershow@gmail.com. Should have said to sealiftershow@gmail.com. And we'll be happy to answer your questions. And see you later, guys.